Segment 3 here on Lead with Giants TV. I have Barry Banther, the authors of A Leader's Gift. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Tal. It's nice to be with you and Liz. I always enjoy it.
Great to have you. Liz, welcome.
Thanks, Hal.
Okay, well, we left off. We want to hear Barry's advice on, or mentorship on, advising on the young leaders who are coming through the workforce, the emerging leaders who are joining companies, and they may have studied leadership or looked at some leadership stuff, but now they're really ready, getting their hands dirty and ready to go. So, Barry, talk to us about that.
Thanks, Tal. It's an example that I use in the book, and I often use it when I speak. And it's going to sound ancient for just a moment, but stay with me. In the 1950s, when we were post World War II and we began to really develop our businesses throughout North America, the manager was usually the person, the leader, whether they were at a management level, director's level, or C-suite. The leader was the one who got to work first and left last and worked the longest, hardest hours. If you wanted to be a leader, you had to work the hardest hours. That began to change in the early 70s when we began to have more technology coming into the marketplace. So now the leader was not the one who worked the longest. The leader was the one who knew the technology. He could teach everyone the technology. And then in the 80s, as we began to move toward personal computers and desktop applications, the software became important. The software started doing so much of what managers or leaders had to do in the past. So now the most effective leader wasn't the one who stayed the latest, wasn't the one who knew the technology. It was the one who best understood the software and how you could get the most out of the software. But then the software got smarter and simpler at the same time and became more intuitive. Now as we enter this new century, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, the leader is not the one who works the longest or knows the technology the best or the software. They're the one who can facilitate a team of people getting work done. If I were brand new in a business today, and I often speak to young emerging leaders groups, I wrote a program on emerging leadership. Here's the one message I deliver to them. The skills of being an effective leader, the skills of openness and investing time and listening and encouragement and appreciation, those are the skills of a great associate. Go ahead and start developing those skills. Be the one in your team, within your work group, who's really trying to find solutions. Be the one who's open to the contrarian ideas. Be the one who's listening and not always trying to have the answer that everyone's looking for. Be the one that's encouraging in the middle of a difficult client relationship or a difficult fabrication or manufacturing process, that we can do this. We've just got to step back and think about it. Be the one that shows appreciation for the strengths that other people display. And you'll either at that moment have the opportunity to move up and be a leader who now has authority as a manager or director or a C-suite person, or staying right in place as a professional, whether you're an attorney, a CPA, an engineer, you're going to be the one that people look to and you'll have influence in the organization. So we've reached a place in our business life where the great skills of a leader that are needed are also the skills of a great associate and employee. So don't wait to develop those in the very beginning, and you'll be doing yourself, your company, and your family a great favor.
You mentioned recognition and appreciation, and I want to touch on that a little bit here as you share actually three key questions in the book to instill a positive culture. Talk to us about that.
Well, people arrive at work in the morning, and when they do, they are immediately confronted by mirrors. People are holding up mirrors. Some mirrors they run into say, you're too old to be working here, and then they'll run into another mirror in the hall that says, you're the wrong gender to be working in our department, and they'll run into another one that might even say, you're the wrong race, or you're not smart enough. All day long, people are hearing why they can't or shouldn't be doing the job. And then when they get on the job, and they do a good job, at best they might get just a quick flattery of pat on the back. Flattery is abhorrent. Flattery is not appreciation. Telling a team they did a good job should never come out of your lips if you're a leader. And here's the reason why. Because what a person says to you, the words they use create a thought in your mind. What a man or woman thinks determines what they do. And you have the privilege as a leader of putting into people's heads the thoughts that they will have that they'll act on. Let me give you an example, Tal. Let me use you as an example. One of the strengths you have is a great compassion for your audience. It was evidenced by the fact that earlier when we were doing one of these, we had a technical glitch. And when we finally were able to connect, you asked me politely, but you really wanted to do it. Barry, can we do this again? I don't want my audience to miss that answer. That's a great strength you have. You weren't quick to get off to something else or say, well, forget it, we'll do it another time. That's a strength that you have. Now, notice what just happened. By showing you that kind of strength-centered appreciation, there were two parts to it. Part one was the strength. And the strength, what was the strength I just said to you was that I saw in you? What did I say that strength was? Can you repeat it to me?
Compassion to the audience.
Now, if I stop there, that's better than flattery. Flattery, you're a great host, you're a great facilitator. What does that mean? So just stopping at a strength, but I took it one step further. I gave you an example. And you remember the example I gave? I said, as evidenced by the fact that when we had a technical glitch, you said, Barry, let's do this over again. Now, something else happened that I would want every leader to catch. I have just taught you how to treat me when I'm working with you. The next time you and I are doing one of these programs, and if we have a technical glitch and I can't get my answer out, you're going to pull up a file and it's going to flash on the screen. Barry believes I have great compassion for my audience, as evidenced by the fact that when we had a glitch, I still wanted to get it right. I won't have to ask you. I won't have to say, oh, Tal, give me a chance, because I've placed into your mind a thought that's a positive thought for you and for me, and I'm reinforcing that. That's what great leaders do. Great leaders learn how to show genuine appreciation. How many people said it? Unless they know you care, unless they know you really see them and appreciate them, it's the cry of every human heart. It's the thing that every employee wants more than money. A manager or leader's words are more valuable than the budget.
I really love what you just said there, because I think oftentimes, and it happens to all of us to recognize that in us, is that oftentimes, and we see it through emails or we see it through different forms of communication. And I really like what you just said, because I think, and I really try to learn from that as much as I can, is to be really specific to the person, because when you say, like you say, it's a great job, it's a general statement, doesn't have specifics, and you're also, a lot of managers, when they give recognition, they sometimes group people together. Now, what you were just doing is you were very specific with that person, because what my strength may be different from Liz's strength, and that's what I really like about your approach there.
And in the book, I teach leaders to literally keep a spreadsheet. Here's how you can test it for you and Liz and everybody that's watching. Tonight, when you get home, or if you're at home, whomever you live with, if it's a spouse, significant other, children, roommate, whomever, I want you to look at them and say, I've been thinking about something. Here's a strength I see in you, and here's an example of where I've seen it over and over, and I really appreciate that. Just try that. What do you think might happen tonight? When I ask audiences that, someone will shout out from the back, they'll have a heart attack because you've never been that kind of person. Remember when the towers fell on 9/11, and there's a website you can go to that's very inspiring. You can listen to the phone messages that were left by the people, even some of the phone messages from the planes, where people were telling their loved ones they loved them and what they appreciated about them, because they knew they would never see them again. I made a commitment that night. I was coming back from speaking somewhere, writing by myself. I made a commitment. I'm not going to put my head on the pillow with a compliment unspoken. I'm not going to find myself in a place where I've suddenly got to catch up for years and years and years of ignoring people. Just make it a daily habit with everybody in your life to point out one thing in their life today that you see as a strength, and give them the example and the evidence of that, and you will have more people seeking to follow you than you can ever imagine.
Wow, that is powerful. Barry, I've got a new banner for you, Inspiring Leadership. You do it so well. And that is your strength. You do very nice. Let me close up here with Liz with a question before we close off segment 3 here.
Hi, Liz.
Hello. I think that idea is just so fantastic. We tend to remember the bad and forget the good very quickly. So, do you have any advice for leaders of how they can make sure that they are addressing the good and not just emphasizing the mistakes and the bad?
Yes, I can. And this, I credit this to some of the great men that we've talked about earlier, and I would put in that grouping of men some of the great women too, who've been tremendous leaders that I speak about in the book. They follow a principle of looking in a window instead of a mirror. When I share with people that the most powerful leadership tool you have, the gift of appreciation, doesn't require a purchase order, doesn't require a requisition slip, and you don't have permission from anybody. What we just shared here a moment ago, the example is all of us can do immediately. Now, the only way I can do it is I've got to stop looking in the mirror when things go well and go, boy, what a great manager I am. And instead, I've got to look in the window at the people I work with, because there's the high likelihood that I didn't do it by myself. There's the high likelihood that those men and women who work with me, they're really the reason I succeeded. You know, the late Zig Ziglar put it this way. He said, if you help enough people achieve their goals, they will all work together to help you achieve yours. So I encourage leaders, be selfish about this. Do you want a team that'll literally break their back to help you succeed? Then become the kind of person that's bringing out the best in them. Become that person that they believe will always point out to them what they do well. And you know what, Liz? Here's another truth. If people know that you're going to catch them doing something right, they're far more open to your correction. You know, if the only time I see you as my leader is when you want to tell me what I'm doing wrong, I'm not going to believe it. I'm going to let you, I'll take my beating, I'll listen to you, and then I'll just keep on performing like I always have. But if you day after day after day are building into my life and showing me my strengths, the vast majority of individuals will respond positively to that, and they'll welcome what we used to call constructive criticism. They'll welcome that because they recognize that it's balanced by really watching them. So how does a leader do it? Stop looking in the mirror, recognize what's in it for you to bring out the best in people, and get busy doing it, because the reward is just tremendous. I could give you example after example of great leaders who've built financially successful by bringing out the best in people.
Very nice, very nice. We'll have to catch up on this on another shows, obviously in the future, because there's so much in there, and both of you guys are so right on, because there is more and more as leaders and business owners focus on results, they forget those relationships and the appreciation and the recognition part of it. It's almost like it's taken for granted in many places. So I appreciate you guys talking about that.
Yeah, relationships produce results. You can get results by accident and think, I'm great, and then you don't last. 2 or 3 years later, you're moving on to the next job as a leader, and the same thing repeats itself. Look at those lasting leaders who've stayed decades or longer. The one thing you'll find they all have in common, they've really, as you said, Tal, invested in relationships.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us this evening, Barry. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Liz as well. And then here is, just in case anybody hasn't caught that, a leader's gift is right here, and it's available on Amazon.com. And I can tell you I'm pretty selective in my reading, and that's the anecdotes, the quotes, everything there. And then Barry's personal transformation as a leader is worthwhile reading. So thank you so much, and have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Goodbye.